Hello Year 11, so we've got a kind of couple of 5-minute chunk videos here of how to assess the influence of international trade for a country like Zambia. So you can see the question here. It's assess how influential international trade has been for the development of an LIDC that you've studied. Zambia is our case study. This question's worth 6 marks, and I've just laid out a basic structure of how to answer the question with some key terms along the side. Now, this on its own is not enough to achieve 6 marks, so you need to go and do that little bit of extra work if you want to improve an answer of this level. Okay, I would say this will get you between 4 and 5 marks if you do exactly what's here on the page, but we want to aim for that 6. So go home, work on this question, add in another paragraph, add in your own kind of ideas about how the areas have developed. So, first of all, assess means that we're looking at AO3 skills. How influential international trade has been. So we're going to think about trade between Zambia and countries like the United Kingdom through Associated British Foods, through China, using the company Non-Ferrous Metals as an example, and you can see all of those on the side of the page. So we're going to also have to link that trade to how it has improved the country or how it has disimproved the country. First of all, what is trade and what are the main ways that Zambia trades? So we could give a brief definition. International trade is, and you could say something along the lines of the exchange of goods and services for money, imports and exports, imports from other countries to your country or exports to other countries from your country. Mainly here we're talking about exports to the United Kingdom and China. And then that with the basic definition is like a little introduction. This has led to development, but has also hindered it in some ways. So a nice little introduction there. Moving on now to our kind of case study knowledge. So we need to include this. If we do not, we're going to get capped. The question says, you have studied, that means you need to bring in your case study knowledge. We looked at ABF, or Associated British Foods. If you have a look, that is here for ABF. And non-ferrous metals. So ABF, or Associated British Foods, were located in Mazabuka, which is an area with sugarcane plantations. So they took advantage of this, and then they developed factories and used those factories in order to produce the products, send them to the United Kingdom as a form of international trade. So factories were opened to produce products like Kingsmill, and shipped to the UK for in exchange for money. Now, how has this trade, as part of our AO2 skill down here, or explanation, how has this trade led to improvements? So an improvement that we could say, I'm not going to put full sentences here, but an improvement that we could say would be that they helped to build schools, local GPs and hospitals, and that would have helped because it would have led to things like improving the life expectancy from the mid-60s and so on for the local area. Another thing is that it created employment. But let's think a little bit about what kind of problems could have happened. So a reliance on one company that could potentially go bust, or we could also say that there was also the employment at low incomes. So though this was an income that would have been higher than their average income, this was still something less than they would have than would be expected from an international company. They took advantage of their workers. So a couple of good ideas, a couple of things that helped create employment, which would have increased local incomes and increased the gross national income of Zambia as a whole if this was done in lots of places. And then you need to link back to the question. So we've got a couple of good things, but also something negative. Overall, we believe that it was relatively important for the development of Zambia. But can we reduce things like corruption and taking advantage of people in these type of areas? Has there been too much corruption? You need to consider that in your link paragraph. How can we do this? How can we achieve this? And you'll need to answer those kind of questions in order to push towards your level 6. You'll also need to have a look at non-ferrous metals as an example of a Chinese company investing in Zambia. So about 6 minutes for this video. Make sure you get this completed in your cover lesson, and we'll also have another one on our reliance on a single commodity, which links quite well into this type of question.